All right, let's talk about a huge problem that so many businesses have, and honestly, most of them don't even know it. It's this. You're basically invisible to your customers at the exact moment they need you most. So today, we're going to break down exactly why that's happening and, more importantly, how you can fix it.
Just think about it for a second. Right now, at this very moment, someone out there is searching for the exact thing you sell. But are they finding you, or are they clicking a link to your competitor's site? Probably, yeah. And not because their product is better, but just because they showed up at the right time with the right message.
And look, this isn't some rare thing. This exact scenario plays out millions of times, every single day, in every industry you can think of. It's just this massive, non-stop river of missed opportunities. So what's the deal? What is going so wrong? Well, the core problem is that most businesses are totally focused on the finish line. They're constantly asking, how do we sell more stuff? And in doing that, they completely ignore the entire journey a person takes to even get to that point. It's like trying to close a deal with someone you haven't even said hello to yet. It just doesn't work. So the solution is to stop guessing and start mapping, and that map is called the buyer's journey. Now I know it sounds like some marketing buzzword, but it's not. It is a genuine data-fueled map of how your customers actually behave. It shows you where they go, what they're thinking, and it's really the key to being visible at every single one of those critical moments. So this map, it has 4 really clear stages. It all starts with what we call initial curiosity. From there, a person moves into exploration. Then they get into a deeper research phase, and it all ends with the final evaluation. Now, each stage represents a totally different mindset for the customer and a different opportunity for you to connect. So let's do it. Let's walk through this map one stage at a time. We're going to dive into what the customer is actually thinking in each of these phases, and I'll show you exactly what kind of content you need to create to guide them step by step, right to your front door. So it all begins right here in stage 1. This is that spark, that initial moment when a person realizes, I have a problem, or a need, or maybe even an opportunity. Now, importantly, they are not looking for products yet. They're just trying to get their head around the situation.
The question rattling around in their brain is something like this. Why is my data showing this weird trend? Or maybe, what in the world does this new industry rule mean for me? They're just looking for context, for understanding.
So notice the goal here, and this is critical. It is not to sell, it's to educate. Your content has to be helpful and just answer those early questions. Think things like diagnostic guides, educational blog posts, maybe a video that explains what's happening in the industry. At this stage, your entire goal is to become their trusted resource, not another pushy salesperson.
Okay, so once they've kind of wrapped their head around the problem, they naturally move into stage 2, exploration. At this point, they know what the issue is, and now they start looking into the different types of solutions out there.
You see, their mindset has totally shifted. Now they're asking, okay, so what are the different ways I could solve this? They're comparing really broad approaches and categories. They're not thinking about specific brands yet.
And because of that, your content needs to shift too. Your goal now is to build credibility by showing that you get the entire landscape. Things like comparison guides or industry overviews are perfect here. They show off your expertise and, subtly position your way of doing things as the most logical one, all while building that crucial trust.
All right, stage 3. This is where things start to get pretty serious. The person has now picked a solution category, and they're ready to do a deep dive into the specific options. The actual companies and products within that category. So their questions get way more granular. They want to know about features, about how it's implemented, what it costs, what are the real outcomes. They need hard, concrete information to feel confident moving forward. So your job here is to give them those details. This is the perfect place for things like detailed product guides, technical spec sheets, really clear pricing info, and especially video demos. You've got to give them every specific piece of information they need to really properly evaluate their choices. And that brings us to the final stage, stage 4, evaluation. At this point, the choice isn't about the type of solution anymore. Now it's about the specific company. It's about you. This is it. This is the ultimate question. They've narrowed down the field, and now they're asking themselves, okay, out of these 2 or 3 companies, who can I really trust to get the job done?
So your content now has to seal the deal. This is where you really differentiate yourself and build massive confidence. Customer testimonials, super detailed case studies showing real results, your team's credentials, service guarantees, all of this provides that social proof and reassurance that makes your business feel like the obvious and safest choice.
But hang on, here's a really crucial update to this whole model. Because if you're thinking of this journey as a simple straight line from A to B to C, you're still missing a huge piece of the puzzle. The modern buyer journey is way more complex than that.
What this really means is we have to just throw out that old idea of a linear funnel. It's dead. The reality today is a kind of messy, multi-touch journey. People jump between stages. They'll circle back to earlier content. They interact with you on their laptop, then their phone, then back again. Someone might read your blog at their desk, see a social post on their phone later, and then finally return to your pricing page a week later from their tablet. This means the really successful marketers, they don't track a rigid sequence anymore. They track patterns. They focus on behavioral triggers, things like visiting a specific page or downloading a particular guide that signal what someone is thinking. Influence isn't built in one shot. It's the sum of all these little touch points adding up over time.
Okay, so we've covered the map. We've covered the modern, messy reality of it all. So the big question is, how do you actually put this to use? How do you take this understanding and start making your business more visible, like tomorrow?
Here's your game plan. It's 3 simple steps. First, take all of your current content, your blog posts, your videos, your web pages, and audit it. Map every single piece to one of those 4 stages. Step 2, identify the gaps. And I'm willing to bet you'll find that you have tons of stage 4 sales material, but almost nothing for stages 1 and 2. That's your biggest opportunity. And finally, step 3 is to just commit. Commit to creating valuable, genuinely helpful content for the entire journey, not just the end of it.
And that really leads us to the final and most critical question you need to ask yourself. When you think about your marketing, your website, your whole sales process, what part of your customer's journey are you completely, totally ignoring? Because the answer to that question, that's where your growth begins.